Hello, everyone. Matt Clark, research analyst with Money and Markets here with your weekly marijuana market update. Now, I start this thing the same just about every time, and I'm remiss if I don't. But after you watch this video, and this is going to be a good one, so make sure you stay tuned. I want you to head over to moneyandmarkets.com, sign up for our free daily e-letter. All seven days a week. Each one of those days, we provide you safe and profitable information for your portfolio. You can get information from myself, Green Zone Fortunes editor Charles Sizemore, our chief investment strategist Adam O'Dell, and my cannabis watch list, which is why we're here today to discuss the marijuana market. And so again, go to moneymarkets.com, sign up, get your free daily e-letter. Comes out to Saturday to Sunday, or Sunday to Saturday rather, and provides you safe and sound, profitable information for your portfolio. Now, this week's update, I actually have something really, really special for you guys. Typically, I get into, I tackle maybe a stock or a topic that you guys want me to break down. But this is going to be a little different. Today, I've actually got someone joining me, and I'm very, very excited about that. The gentleman I have with me has been in the cannabis industry since about 2014. He was the co-founder, former vice president of the Green Organic Dutchman Holdings. He has also worked to raise capital for other cannabis companies like Emblem Plus Products. Before that, he worked for two very good-sized independent Canadian brokerage firms. Currently, his billet is Chief Corporate Officer for HempFusion. His name is Danny Brody. And Danny, first off, welcome. Thank you for joining the Marijuana Market Update.
Thank you for having me, Matt. Happy to be here.
I'm just want to get right into it. You've got a wealth of knowledge, and
Let's do it.
You've been in this industry for a good while. You've got a lot of traction. I want to talk about first the general cannabis industry, and we'll focus a little bit on the United States. I know that you're in Canada. The company you work for is in Colorado. We'll talk more about HempFusion here in just a second. But I think you've got a pretty vast net of knowledge in terms of the general cannabis industry. And here in the U.S., obviously, after Election Day in November, 5 more states legalized adult use or medical use marijuana, and which was a big boom. I mean, it was kind of surprising, especially South Dakota, where you had a state where voters actually approved 2 measures at the same time, approving both medical use and adult use, which is unheard of. It's never happened before. Now, New Frontier, New Frontier Data, which is a leading cannabis research firm, projected that legal cannabis revenue could reach as high as $38.4 billion by the end of 2025. Now, bear in mind that the same firm in 2018, just 2 years ago, or two years before, projected legal cannabis sales of only around $23 billion by 2025. So the new markets are going to bring in a lot of nice revenue, especially when you consider New Jersey and just that atmosphere around there. You have Arizona and closeness to California and Nevada. And there's also some possibilities of other states bringing on, or at least discussing, legalizing marijuana in some form or fashion here in the coming year or two. Now, understanding the current political landscape, and by that I mean understanding that we have 5 states that have legalized now. That will go into effect after regulations are put in place. Probably, I don't know what the time frame is with that, but now we have a Congress and a White House that appear to be, or at least investors think that they are favorable to discussing decriminalizing cannabis in the United States on the federal level. Do you think that $38.4 billion by 2025 is a soft number? Do you think it could be higher?
I certainly do think it could be higher. And that recent adjustment from 2018 to now just goes to show it, right? They've already doubled their estimates. So I think it's, as more and more states legalize, as more and more people start consuming cannabis because it's legal, I think that market's going to grow even quicker.
And
bigger.
I'm kind of with you. I think that 38.4 is soft. I think 50 billion is a realistic expectation by 2025. Obviously a lot of things have to fall into place for that. But I think if you take out federal legalization, take that out and leave that notwithstanding, I think you're going to see more and more states start to jump on board, especially you look in the Northeast of the United States, Pennsylvania, New York. These are 2 states that are going to lose out on a lot of potential tax revenue with New Jersey's legalization. Because if you don't think that people from Philadelphia or from New York City are going to cross the bridge and get in New Jersey to buy legal cannabis, then you're mistaken, because it's exactly
you got something else coming.
Exactly. And yeah. I know the New York State Assembly has already started to discuss the possibility of legalization. Pennsylvania probably going to lag a little bit. I don't necessarily know that legislature is going to really jump on board. And then you have on the West Coast, you've got Arizona, which is legalized, and now you've got a nice, you've got the entire West Coast with Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, now Arizona. Arizona is going to pick up from New Mexico, perhaps. New Mexico could be another state on, leaning towards possible legalization. I think 50 billion is a realistic estimate for 2025.
I think you're right. If you look at the numbers from Arizona, they had about a $150, $200 million medical market. They're growing to over 2 billion in that medical market. And they're fast. They're really fast. That's the most interesting thing to me is when we first started seeing these legal states coming on board from medical to rec, it took almost 18 months, right? Now you're seeing Arizona do it in less than 3 months. So the fact is states that have that base set up for medical can now transition so much quicker. So, I mean, Arizona is a perfect example of that. They got 120 dispensaries. I think New Jersey is probably going to take a little bit longer just because they don't have that same infrastructure for the medical market. But I mean, it's huge all around. So if they're alone $2 billion market, population 8 million people, I think just do the numbers, right? I think we're in for a lot bigger market than people think.
And that's gonna bode well for not just marijuana producers, but to switch gears, also CBD producers. I think are gonna see a nice benefit from that. Now, legal marijuana always draws the headlines. Anytime there's discussion of cannabis or anything like that, legal marijuana, adult use or medical use, always draws the headlines. But then there's companies like yours and HempFusion that specialize in CBD products. Now, the outlook for CBD sales in the near future is also very, very strong. Projections are that CBD sales just in the United States could reach $23.7 billion by 2023. That's just 2 years away.
That's even bigger than the medical and recreational cannabis market. So the fact is while medical and recreational cannabis takes all the headlines, the actual market for CBD, and this is why our whole team got involved in the CBD industry 2 or 3 years ago, is because of that reason, right? You have a bigger market that's completely legal in all 50 states now that the Farm Bill is passed in 2018. So why wouldn't we as an investor group want to position ourselves early in something like that?
Exactly. And to take note, the $23.7 billion estimate by 2023, that is a 221% increase over 2020 projections. That is massive growth in such a short amount of time. It's a huge boom for the CBD market, and that's just in the United States. That doesn't count anywhere else. Doesn't count Canada, doesn't count Mexico, doesn't count Europe, doesn't count Asia, doesn't count anywhere else. That's just in the U.S. But I guess, but the thing that keeps rattling in the back of my head, and I've talked about this before in previous market updates, is that as more and more states join the ranks of those that are legalizing marijuana, especially on the adult use level, even on the medical level, either one, or if the federal government decides to fully legalize, do you think that that's going to put a dent in CBD sales for the future just because people are going to see medical marijuana as a much stronger alternative to what CBD can provide now? Or is that maybe a misnomer?
I think that's a misnomer, and I'll tell you why. So for me right now, all hemp-based CBD products are legal for sale across the states. So one of the things that we're focused on right now is what's called the FDM channel. So for those that don't know, that stands for Food and Drug Mass, and that is the largest by dollar volume channel retailer that exists. So we're not just selling our products in dispensaries, we're selling them in the largest retail stores that exist in the States, the Publixes, the Costco's, the Walgreens, the Kroger's, the CVS's. So for us as a company, trying to get products into that distribution channel is worth way more than almost every other channel out there. So the fact is that is where we're focused. That's where the majority of major CBD companies are focused. And that's where the opportunity lies. So it's going to be years before you get any kind of cannabis-derived products that are selling in that large of a retail store.
I mean, it's impressive. You can actually go to, I'll use it as an example only because I know it, but you can go into a Tommy Bahama, which if anyone knows me knows that I'm a huge Tommy Bahama clothing fan. You can actually go into a Tommy Bahama clothing store just south of here in Boca Raton, Florida, and you can buy CBD inside the store. It's unreal. I would have never thought that you could do that. So I think the doors are already pretty wide open for CBD because it is, it can be sold just about anywhere. I mean, you can get it anywhere. Whereas you look at cannabis, whether it's adult use or recreational, you're very limited.
I wouldn't say anywhere because they're
about anywhere.
To get into that FDM channel, you have to have such an incredibly high bar for compliance and standards as a company because they don't want to take on risk associated with cannabis and hemp, right? They have such a high bar for compliance that we meet with all of our products. And I'll give you an example. our OTC drug listed topical products are the only products we have that are selling in there. But that's because they're the only products that are allowed to sell in there. You can't buy tinctures there. You can't buy some of the other ingestibles there, but you can buy OTC topicals. So those are actual drug listed topical products. We registered it with the FDA. It took almost 2 years to get those products on shelves. But the best thing for us is the fact that not many other companies have that. So there's only a handful of other companies that are actually in the food and drug mass channel, which again is just absolutely huge. So there is that big kind of barrier to entry. And that's what we looked at as an investor group for why we wanted to get involved with this company particularly, is because that really separates them from the pack.
And he is Danny Brody. He is a chief corporate officer for HempFusion. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk more about HempFusion. I was doing some looking into this company, and it piqued my interest. It's billed as, and I quote, a CBD brand that puts the customer first. And I get that. It's nice boilerplate. It's fantastic. But to get into the nitty gritty, this is a company. It produces hemp-based tinctures, capsules, topicals, all these things that can be used to help relieve stress, sleep issues, and a wide range of other ailments. And being hemp-based, it bodes very well for HempFusion. The reason why I say that is and I like to throw out data and numbers. Projections are that hemp-based CBD sales could reach $1.3 billion in the next 2 years. And that's a huge pie for companies who try to get a part of it. And let me preface all this by saying, if I understand right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, but HempFusion is the number 2 hemp company in the United States, or a CBD company in the United States. Is that correct?
We've got the number 2 largest market cap in the States, and we're the number 3 most recognized CBD brand. So we are very well known. Most people out there that have heard of CBD have heard of HempFusion. And just because we completed our IPO a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of eyeballs on us.
For sure. Now, I want to kind of, we talked about this a little bit earlier about, a lot of players in the CBD market, because there are considerably more players in CBD than there are in cannabis. This is
my favorite statistic here, though. So you said you like numbers. You're going to love this one.
I do. Hit me.
The largest hemp-based CBD company in America only accounts for about 2% of the entire market. So you have this market that's incredibly fragmented, but it's a traditional CPG industry, right? So any CPG industry, you're going to have 3 to 5 majors that dominate that industry, right? You're going to have your Cokes and your Pepsis and your Procters and Gambles and et cetera that take 80% of the market share. But we don't have that yet with CBD. So the race is very much so just getting started as far as we're concerned. And there's a massive, massive opportunity to start taking market share.
Now, another thing to look at, and a lot of companies are trying this only because we're seeing legalization on the state level start to speed up for, adult use or medical marijuana, is branching out into marijuana, because right now HempFusion does not do cultivation. They do not farm, they do not market, they do not distribute, they do not have storefronts that sell adult use cannabis or medical marijuana. They don't do it. That's not the business model right now. But is that something, as we start seeing more and more states, or even on the federal level, see decriminalization become more and more prevalent, is that something that HempFusion would explore?
I think what we're doing right now is even bigger than that, and I'm going to tell you why. We just bought a company called Probiotics, and you might wonder why the heck a CBD company is going out to buy a probiotics company. Well, the fact is that acts as our Trojan horse strategy. So what we can do is we can go and get not only different retailers to approve us, but different countries to approve us that might not sell CBD yet, but they sell probiotics, right? So this company is actually now one of the top fastest growing probiotics companies in the entire United States, and we own 100% of it. But what we're doing is we're using that as leverage to talk to all these different retailers, from Costco to Walgreens to Kroger's to CVS to different countries. And I'll give you a good example of that. One store that we're in is called Sprouts Farmers Market. Yes. We launched our probiotics in that store about 3 years ago now. And when they came time to launch CBD products, guess who was the first person they talked to? Well, it was us. So we can use that probiotics line to get our CBD products into thousands and thousands of stores, and also all these different countries. So we're selling in India now, we're selling in Dubai, we're selling in South Korea, we're selling in Brazil and Mexico. So all these countries around the world, we can get these relationships with now. We're not waiting for any kind of federal legalization for cannabis, right? We're in these stores now, we're in these countries now, And we're using that as a gateway to really just absolutely start ramping our sales. So, that's our strategy. We wanted to find something that worked for us now, without having to wait for decisions to happen that were out of our hands.
Waiting on the government. Hurry up and wait.
We're not doing that.
Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense. That really does. I mean, if you have found the niche and you've got a good foundation for market share in CBD, why deviate from that? What would be the rationale for deviation from that? I mean, there isn't any. So I'll put you on the spot here because I didn't look this up, so I can't quite fact check you a little bit. But let's talk about revenue for HempFusion. Where were you guys last year? Where were you guys 2019 to 2020? What's your projections for 2021?
Yeah, look, I'll preface that by saying we don't give guidance. We never give guidance. It's just something that we don't believe in because it's a newly unregulated industry that there's just so many variables that, it just doesn't make sense for us to give sort of future projections. We were on track for probably 12 million in 2020, but COVID hit. 94% of our stores are 94% of our sales are all in retail stores. So the fact is obviously it's going to hurt. We're selling in Texas, California, Florida. Those states were hit hard. So we exited. I think we were on 7 million US last year, and we're projecting a lot more based off of some different contracts that we've got for 2021. So the fact is we've really spent a lot of time laying the foundation. We raised 36 million in 2019. We put another 17 million into the company now for the IPO to really start scaling that. We've got the products now that are in all these store shelves. We've got the distribution to over 4,000 retailers. We've got 46 products on the shelves now. We've got another 30 in the pipeline, everything from beverages to gummies to sleep, stress, and energy tinctures that we're really starting to expand. So it all comes down to the right ingredients for us. And now with this capital, we can really start to ramp up that marketing budget. We can really start to ramp up everything to do with the company, from our team to the marketing side to international expansion, and really start growing that revenue line.
Now, one thing of note here is that HempFusion currently trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange. The ticker symbol there is CBD.U. And it was recently included, and this is interesting. This has got to be a big thing for you guys. It was recently included in both the Advisor Shares Pure U.S. Cannabis ETF, which trades on the stock exchange under MSOS, and on the Advisor Shares Pure Cannabis ETF, which trades on the stock exchange under YOLO. And that's a huge thing. These are two leading cannabis exchange traded funds on the market. They've got about 880 million in combined assets under management. And that's a big thing. Now, you mentioned IPO. Let's dive into that just real briefly here, Danny. Tell me, what are the terms? What are you guys looking at? Have you guys started your roadshow yet?
So we did our IPO. So we listed on January 6th. We had a concurrent raise for 17 million. We priced our IPO at $1. We're now trading just under $2. So we've almost doubled off our IPO. People seem to love the story, which is great. But yeah, MSOS is just one of the top ETFs out there. They're the first to basically have a multi-state operator ETF, which is pretty unique. But they took a position in HempFusion. So they bought us in the open market. Last I checked, they had about 113,000 shares. Hopefully they buy more. But it's just a nice validation for the company is what it is. We're not a small company anymore. We're now several $100 million, catching up to the biggest and the best. And the fact is it just puts that seal of approval on us, right? We're not just kind of the neighbor next door anymore. We're actually the real deal. So it's a nice seal of approval for us.
Any thoughts on coming over to the US and doing an IPO here?
100%. That's definitely part of the plans. We actually just got our US symbol today. It's CBDHF. CBDHF, so you can look us up there if you want. But we're applying for DTC eligibility. We're applying for a OTCQX listing. And who knows what the future holds. If we can do a full uplist to the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, that'd be incredible.
Very good. Well, he is Danny Brody, the Chief Corporate Officer for HempFusion. Danny, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much. And I definitely want to have you on again, talk more about the cannabis market and the CBD market. I think you guys are doing some very good things there. Again, you can check out HempFusion I'm going to do some more research on it, and I'm probably going to come back with some more thoughts on a future marijuana market update, because I think it's one that I think our viewers are going to want to hear more about, and I want to dive more into as well. So I appreciate that, Danny. Thanks so much for your time. You can check out the cannabis watch list on moneyandmarkets.com. Just go there and look for it. We've got 6 positions now on the watch list. Right now, the last I checked, and this is going to vary, those 6 positions are averaging total average gain of about 40%. And so we're very, very happy with that. But I think there's still a lot of room left to grow. Next week, I'm going to talk about another cannabis stock that's been mentioned in our YouTube comments section. You can email me, feedback@moneyandmarkets.com. We'll try to put that down there in the video, so you can have access to that. Or you can comment down on YouTube. Either way, and I would love to hear your feedback, what you have to say. Maybe you've got a question for me. Maybe you've got a question I can pass on to Danny. I now know how to ring his phone 24 hours a day, so I will be able to hit him up at will. And I know where he's at, so I know what his time is. So coming up this week.
Perfect. I love it.
Exactly. Coming up this week, we're going to have more on the Bull and the Bear podcast, as well as our Money Markets Week Ahead. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Again, check out moneymarkets.com each and every day for new content that provides safe and profitable investment information for you. Until next time, I'm Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets, your host of the Bull and the Bear podcast and the Marijuana Market Update. Safe trading, everyone.